Welcome to the Velocity Talk road test for the Peugeot 208 GTi Peugeot Sport. Certainly an interesting looking car with the two-tone, what looks to be a kind of wrap two-tone colour, 18-inch wheels, turbocharged 1.6 litre engine, plenty of stats to say that it's going to be a fun car. I hope you enjoy the road test. So as far as I understand it, with the new 208 range, there's essentially 3 GTIs. Although they all have the same 1.6 turbocharged engine, there are some differences. The first two, the differences are kind of more trim level stuff, different wheels and that sort of thing. This, the Perso Sport Edition, does have a few other tricks up its sleeve. It actually has wider track than the standard. It also has, as I said before, 18-inch alloys, and the suspension is totally different. The shocks are lowered. It's a different actual ride height from the other GTIs. So normally you kind of run up the spec tree and you still have the same car, you just get more toys. This is actually a different car, and I find that really quite unusual and quite exciting, I think. So if you were going to spend, and it's not even that much more, you only spend a couple of grand, 3 grand more or something, and all of a sudden you've got a car that, if you are really into this stuff and you really want a track day car as well as a hot hatch to hack it around in, you've definitely got something that's pretty well set. It's the sort of tuning, mucking around with shocks and things like that, it's the sort of tuning I'd expect people to do after they picked up a 208 GTI and 3 or 4 years old and they started modding it. It's almost like it's come pre-modded, and that's really cool, unless you're someone that desperately wants a project and then maybe go and get something else. But if you want a car that rides properly, that isn't modded badly, this has had it all done properly, and you can really tell the stance is much more fierce, it's much more aggressive. Yes, you can feel it in the ride, and when you're really on song on a bumpy road, it is a handful. But on a big flat, nice road, and especially a track which I know I keep banging on about, that would really come into its own. So when you think about anything with the words GTI in it, you have to think of performance. There are a number of perhaps fake GTIs out there that have a diesel engine in it or whatever, but as a general rule, you really expect a GTI to be a performance car. Over the years, I think there's been a lot of lukewarm hatches, and that's not about Peugeot, that's just generally. But things really do seem to be hotting up with the turbochargers being shoehorned into everything at the moment. I don't know whether it seems to be after the Ford EcoBoost really started getting traction, and there just seems to be turbos popping up in everything. Even the Civic Type R, always a naturally aspirated car, now has a turbo, and you can check out that review on our channel. So performance is a major issue, and it certainly would be one when you were going to buy a 208 GTI, and it really doesn't disappoint. The stats don't actually do it justice. So with some 143 mile an hour top speed, which is irrelevant as always, 0 to 60, 6.5, which is not really that quick on the books. 208 brake horsepower, perfectly, which kind of works quite nicely. It's a gimmick, but it's cool. But it delivers a kick. It is a very, very quick car. And I know we can talk about quick cars in terms of Koenigsegg's and stuff doing sub 3 second 0 to 60s, but as a day-to-day, as an on-the-road car, as a realistic car that you could go and get, and this one on the road, 22 grand, 22.3. So it's a perfectly realistic car for a lot of people. This is a really quick car. Bags of fun, bags of power. Generally, I've been massively impressed. I drive a turbocharged Super Impreza, which some of you may have seen in the background of some of our videos. So I'm used to a fairly quick car. It's a sub 6 second 0 to 60. So this is actually a bit slower, but the delivery is brilliant. The turbo comes in really low. I know there's been some discussions about them increasing the torque on this against previous models, and that really comes into play. Again, to talk about the Type R, it seems that modern turbochargers seem to be able to, or the engines they're built around or built on, seem to just give a little bit of kick lower down. You don't tend to wait till 3,500 revs before it comes on song. And I've just been really impressed. This thing is perfect for overtaking. It's small, it's tight, it's really taut and ready to go, and a quick overtake on an A road or a B road is just brilliant. Where it really shines though, and I say this a lot on these videos, Peugeot, I would love to take this on a track. The grip is phenomenal. I really didn't expect to kind of wax lyrical about this car. I've had mixed experiences with Peugeots. My 306 that I had, I absolutely loved, but the 206 my friend had just fell apart when you even looked at the damn thing. So kind of goes both ways. I've absolutely fallen in love with this car. I really have. The grip is amazing. You can chuck it into a corner. There's barely any body roll. It just feels like it will not let go. Now, I'm on public roads, so I haven't really had a chance to push it until it's going to let go, and I have read some journalists who have taken it on a track said when it does let go, it does snap away a little bit, but that's fine. That's absolutely fine. The traction control is by no means overbearing. In fact, I've only taken it off briefly, I put it back on, I hardly notice the difference. It is not one of those awful ones where it keeps kicking in all the time, but that's been very dry recently on the test. So, bags of grip, ample power, the acceleration is really enjoyable. I cannot fault the performance. The handling, as I said, very taut, minimal body roll, absolutely minimal. The ride is brutal, I can't lie about that, but this is the Peugeot Sport Edition. This has absolutely all the bells and whistles, and it's got 18-inch alloys. There is very little rubber, and there's a whole lot of metal down there. So I'm not surprised the ride is hard. I like it, but even for me, and I love a really hard riding car, even for me, there are some roads where this is starting to get a bit of a handful when it's very bumpy down very sort of sketchy country roads under acceleration. However, take it on a track and it will just sing. I think it will be an absolute stormer on a track, I really do. So generally very impressed. Fantastic performing car, well worth the money at that price. So as I said, the performance is certainly, I wouldn't say explosive, but there's a lot there. So if we sit in second like this, just floor it, and she's gone. Red line, and again, and it just keeps going. It's a fantastic experience. I'm smiling. It's genuinely a really fun car. It's not even that fast. It's not mega fast. I've driven so many cars that are quicker, but it's all about delivery. It's a really cool, fun hot hatch. It's a real hot hatch, like a proper hot hatch, not a diluted one that you feel like someone stuck a GTi badge on and put some nice seats in and that's all you're getting. It's a really hot hatch. Yes, it's a bit Larry looking, I guess, with the colour scheme and stuff, and it may not appeal to everybody, but when you are inside it and when you're driving it, it's so cool. And that was on the straight, so yes, you can blitz it on the straight, but you go round a roundabout and you just tuck it in. Look, it's just absolute glue on the throttle, out the roundabout. It's faultless. I'm sure I could get it to lose grip. I really could if I really pushed it. But then what car doesn't lose grip? It's spot on. Really good fun. I'm totally addicted to driving this car. I'm getting to that point where over the week-long test, I'm finding excuses to go to the shop for a pint of milk when we don't need one, just so I get to drive it. And that's always almost an unintentional thing that happens when I have test cars, that you don't notice you're starting to do it when you get a bit hooked on it. I would happily have this for another few weeks and get a great deal of pleasure from it. So really good car. happens these days when you buy a top spec car, you obviously get a lot of toys. Unless you then take that leap with the Megane Sports and things where they then strip the toys back out to save weight and put in Perspex rear windows and that sort of thing. This is not to that point. So they've kept everything in. I don't think there's any weight saving particularly going on. So infotainment system is excellent. The Apple Play is just brilliant. I'm now looking at pretty much the screen on my iPhone. I can press the text message button and it will audibly read out the text message. I can reply verbally and it'll ask me. So it's basically geared through Siri. That is really cool, really simple, minimal amount of interaction in terms of touch, even though the screen is right there and it's a good size. And to be able to reply to texts on the fly verbally is fantastic. It also picks up Spotify, it runs my Audible account, it does everything that I need to do. On top of that, we've got DAB, we've got all the usual stuff as well, and the sat-nav built in. So, infotainment system is spot on, really is. Aircon, climate controls, just standard, really. They're very kind of cool red, white and blue, but they're red, silver and blue up and down temperature levers and that sort of thing, which are really nice. So there's some nice touches in here. All the red stitched leather, the seats are absolutely brilliant. They are really, really solid race seats. Now these I think only come with the Peugeot Sport Edition, but I would pay for them as an upgrade. But actually I would just buy the Peugeot Sport Edition if I was going to do it. Not only are they really comfortable, they look awesome. I don't know whether you can see them. We'll do an interior shot separately, but they look fantastic. The steering wheel is excellent. It's very small, makes the steering quite heavy and quite positive. But that then leads us through to the head-up display. It's not exactly what I'd call a head-up display. Head-up display is holographic, whatever, on the glass, like a jet fighter. So calling it head-up display is a bit annoying. All it is the dials red above the steering wheel. That's it. So it's not strictly head-up. The issue I have with it is I've had to muck around with the rake adjustment and the seat height and all that quite a lot, and I still can't quite see the trip properly. And considering your speedo is right slap bang in the middle there, you could have an issue. I think you'd muck around with this quite a lot. So it looks good. The carbon fibre kind of binnacle stuff looks really cool. The red lights that go around everywhere, and they almost look like cam lifters, which look really cool. I don't know whether that's intentional. It looks great. Little red bit on the steering wheel. It's all very, very cool. But the head-up display, I'm unconvinced about. I don't really buy that it's there for when you're driving really fast and you don't have to look and all this stuff, because really I still have to look. If it was truly head up, it would be my line of sight actually illuminated on the glass. However, I don't think it would put me off. In fact, it absolutely wouldn't put me off this car. It's kind of nice. It took me a while to figure out what was up with it, actually. I was kind of driving and going, why can't I see properly? And it was only when I started reading the press pack about a head-up display that I realised that was what was annoying me. But you get it set right and it works. The steering wheel, really small. It feels like a racing steering wheel. They've done really well there. Now I gather it's partly so that you can see the head-up display, but as a byproduct they've come out with a really cool steering wheel. One review was discussing that it looks a bit like the steering wheel out of an Aventador, and then claimed that Peugeot invented that steering wheel first. I'm not really buying that. I'm sure someone will comment on the YouTube comments below and tell me otherwise. But really, really cool interior. Excellent gear stick. I know this has kind of been knocking around in some of the other 208 GTIs. Just a really nice big gear stick. We've got really nice, not cheap plastic, red trim everywhere. It's a very, very cool interior to be in, and it feels sporty, it feels purposeful, and it sits really well with the performance and the handling of this car. So as you can see, the red trim stitching is pretty pervasive throughout, but it is all about these seats. They are just epic. Really, really good seats. The Peugeot Sport logo is always really nice. The excellent small steering wheel and entertainment system all sits just perfectly. The binnacle is still up for debate. Whether or not that is, as I said, a true head-up display, I don't know. The purposeful alloys, definitely, whether you like them or not, they're pretty serious. I think that's the shiny red, which is actually the normal colour. the twin pipes, maybe a bit excessive chrome on the back, but still, it all goes to make quite an impressive looking car. It's certainly a nice place to sit. It's certainly an impressive place to be, and with that sort of power behind it, it works really well. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If this didn't have the power, then it would really be a bit of a poor show. It would just be a lot of fancy paintwork, and that was about it. These lovely big calipers, and even just the decals on the wheels are quite interesting. They've just made a lot of effort here to try and make sure that this car is a little bit different and stands out. The interesting special Peugeot Sport grille there, and a few dead animals as well. See, it's quite a matte finish. It's certainly a car that, if you're into hot hatches, is definitely a hot hatch. And performance-wise, it is absolutely a hot hatch. And I think the two combined together make for quite an interesting car. I will say those rear discs do look pretty tiny when you compare it to an 18-inch wheel. They're not actually that small, but it's just that those wheels are so huge. They really make a bit of a difference. Even the filler cap looks nice. There's a couple of buttons up here. So I always press buttons in a car. It's a test car, it's supposed to press buttons. One says SOS, so I didn't press that. But another one's got the Peugeot lion on it. I think it's a lion. It's a griffin, right? Griffin, not a lion. It was part of a lion and a griffin. So I pressed it a few times, didn't do anything. I thought it may be a sport mode or something, because there isn't actually a sport mode on this car, but I guess it's always in sport mode, so it doesn't really matter. And then the phone started ringing, and a French lady picked up the phone and asked me some things in French. Now, it's been a while since I've done my schoolboy French, and I didn't understand any of the words she was saying, although I did hear a bit about car. So it's rather childlike. I was sort of giggling to myself, so I just turned off the ignition, because I wasn't going to try and get into some conversation and explain. She didn't go away. She stayed there, and she kept asking lots of things. I even locked the car, and then she was still there, so I unlocked the car. Then she switched to English, which was really helpful. And she said, "Do I have a problem with the car?" And it was very nice of her. I said, "No, I'm a journalist. I just pressed one of the buttons because I didn't know what it did." And she was like, "Okay, fine." And she said goodbye. So I didn't know it had that. The concierge style service that I know BMW have been doing for a while, and some other brands, I'm sure. That's really cool. That's a brilliant idea. I'm not quite so sure the whole French thing, and whether they'd be of a great deal of assistance, but still, I thought that was a brilliant idea. I don't know quite what I'd be able to ask. I know BMW, you kind of ask them like where you can go for dinner and things like that, but I wonder whether she would have been any assistance on that. But if I've got a problem with the car, that's amazing. That's really nice to know. So if you do happen to go on a test drive and you're on your own and you wonder what that button does, press it at your peril, unless you're fluent in French. These days I find recommended MPG figures almost pointless to look at, and to that end I haven't looked at this, so I'm giving an honest opinion now because I don't know what Peugeot claim. I'll have a look afterwards, and perhaps someone wants to put a comment in underneath about what it is. But I've been driving this around for a week and I am averaging 38.6 miles to the gallon. I think that's pretty good, but then I expect 25 to 30 out of a performance car. So when we're pushing 40, that's pretty damn good. I'm not driving super aggressively all the time. I certainly have been, and I have given it the beans, but I've also done some normal daily driving, and I've been to and fro to normal places quite a bit, as I am now doing 30 mile an hour in a 30, and you can't help it, you can't just drive around the place aggressively all the time. So that's a mixed bag, but I haven't shied away from it. I haven't said to myself, oh no, better save some petrol. I've given it flat out whenever I wanted to. And 38.6 is pretty damn good, I reckon. If they then claim that it's supposed to be 60, then maybe not so good. But I'm kind of hoping they're claiming maybe 45, something like that combined. But we'll see. So there is a bit of an elephant in the room into Vauxhall VX220. There is a bit of an elephant in the room in terms of competitors. The Fiesta ST has been so successful, and it's such a widely loved car, and having driven one myself as well, they are brilliant. This car is always going to just bump up against that. So the first thing in my mind, and if anyone read my preview blog on Velocity Talk, there was a few things in my mind actually, but one of the first things was, is this going to be better than the ST? Would I just go and buy an ST? Ford's reliability, generally the build quality and everything is so good, and it's a tried and tested car, and I know it's really good. So I got in this thinking about an ST, and I think this is kind of a bit more exciting. Am I seeing too many STs about? Am I bored of them? Maybe. This is a little bit different, and that kind of makes it a slightly different option, and you're not going to see as many about, especially not of this edition, and I think that could appeal to a lot of people. So if you're looking at an ST and you're looking at some alternatives, definitely go and test drive one of these. It is a proper alternative to an ST. It's actually a bit quicker, it's a bit more powerful, it's certainly a little bit more different, and for those who like to perhaps stand out from the crowd a little bit, really a good shout. I was certainly impressed with it against it. It feels tighter, it feels a bit more aggressive, and I felt like the ST felt quite aggressive. It really feels really on the money. So really interesting competitor. Will it take the market from the ST? I doubt it, because it's Ford, and Ford are always going to have that side of things, especially with the RS now. The Focus RS out, everyone's just wanting a slice of it. But should it take some people away from Ford? Yeah, I definitely think it should. So the infotainment system is excellent. This Apple Play feature is really, really handy. It means I can access my phone book and my messages all on the go really easily, and easily switch across. I can play my Spotify, but it also has plenty of other things as well. So we've got all the settings you'd expect, audio, color schemes. You've got your driving settings, different trips, under inflation installation, so you've got tire pressure warnings and that sort of thing. There's a load of other vehicle settings you can have. Various online services. You've got your sat-nav, as you'd expect, which is actually very good. Some of the inbuilt ones, well, they always used to be a little bit poor. They're certainly getting a lot better. And then you've got DAB radio. Really, you've got everything you want. It's just a really neat and tidy one. Simply flick on your iPod, you can set it up for Bluetooth, there's auxiliary, there's a whole load of different stuff in here, however you want to consume media in your car, and I think that's a really strong point to this. It also looks good. I think the chrome around the edge is really kind of nice. And the head-up display, I'm hoping that is sitting at my eye line. It is slightly obscured by the steering wheel from where I sit. I've managed to get it okay now. And you've got the kind of nice plastic there. It's certainly a lovely cockpit. And I think these little dials here to change the temperature are really nice. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review. I certainly enjoyed the car. It's been a really, really interesting one. As I said at the beginning, perhaps it wasn't one that I initially thought I would really like. You can't help but get emotionally involved in the cars that you test. You have personal preferences that you take with you. However, this has been a real gem of a car. The performance is electric. It doesn't need to be any more than that. It is just bags of power for the size. It's not going to break any world records, but it is a really, really fun car to drive. The handling is excellent. The drive is really positive. excellent seats, good toys, good interior. For 22 grand, I think it's an absolute bargain. I really do. You can go and buy a very boring car for 22 grand, or you can come and buy this. Clearly, if you've got a family, it's not great. I tried to fit child seats in the back, and it does work, but there's not a huge amount of room. But certainly, younger people that maybe don't have to worry about all the add-ons and baggage of a family, I think it's an absolute blinder. Whether or not you like the look, if you don't like the look, I can appreciate that, and I don't think you have to have it in this colour. I think just a plain red, it would kind of take the edge off. It's a bit weird, but it's very unique. The only problem perhaps is that people may feel it's been modded, and actually this isn't how it came out of the factory. But as a general rule, a great value car, an excellent performing car, and a good all-rounder. Well done, Peugeot. Hope you'll enjoy it. Hope you put some comments underneath if there's anything you'd like to know more, and we'll see you next time.